Welcome to Living Outside the Matrix, the show where we examine important issues that have a bearing on our lifestyle choices and specifically end up overturning that so-called conventional wisdom within the mainstream narrative. Hi there, I'm your host, Nigel Howitt, and on the show today we're going to be talking to a cryptocurrency trader. He's a wonderful man who wishes to remain anonymous, so we'll refer to him as Dave Travis, but he wants to share his insights, his success, his experience and his perspective with a view to illustrating to the rest of us the opportunity, the massive opportunity that is right in front of us at the moment with Bitcoin and all of these cryptocurrencies. As you probably already know, the mainstream view is to discount and to rubbish this phenomena. It's to consider it a scam or a bubble or an irrelevancy, but this is frankly just not true. So I do hope you enjoy this interview and it gives you some value. I opened up by asking Dave about where Bitcoin is, in its growing up and its development. How far have we come? So enjoy.
Well, there's a few companies now that have sort of come to light. For example, they're making, or their goal is to make mortgage companies sort of obsolete and sort of loan companies. There's a company called Salt Lending, and a good place to look for something for a list of coins.
Yeah,
would be on coinmarketcap.com. And if you look at Salt Lending, basically it's just based around, all it is based around your assets. If you've got the crypto, they'll lend you the money, and it's quite, I don't know all the ins and outs of it, but no middleman in amongst all that, begging the banks for loans or anything like that. No. Absolute great adventure that these guys are on.
Because I suppose we're at a point historically where Bitcoin, okay, it's unstable and all that, but it has proved that it's a store of value, even in the minds of not all of us, but some people, enough people consider it a store of value. But it's kind of demonstrated its case, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. And they're saying you'll get a lot of panic from people. For example, like the price might drop sort of 50%, 100%, and the value's still in the coin, But it's not to say that it's the means of exchange back to the fiat world, and the value's still there. So me personally, I'm not a holder of Bitcoin because I like to gather my losses for example, losing 100% in Bitcoin. You'll find that the alternate coins are down 6, 7, 800%. So it's a no-brainer to switch over to those, even if it's for a week or so. You can make your money back if you're savvy enough.
Yeah.
And keep sort of building out your portfolio. But in regards to the fact of being a store of wealth, absolutely. And it's got a few competitors in the go. For example, Litecoin, and which is one really, like it's more deemed as the silver of cryptocurrency, and also Bitcoin Cash, which is another very good store of wealth. So it's now we're at crossroads.
Yeah, I suppose there's one legitimate fear in the minds of a lot of people that obviously you've got to back the right horse here, because there's a lot of cryptos running in this initial part of the race, and they're not all going to make it to the end, are they? So there is that element of risk, isn't there, for any newcomer?
Well, there is.
As long as you don't leave your money parked on the duff one.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, there's a couple of ways to look at that, Nigel. You could look at one and think, well, I look at things like as a poker player. You've got a conservative poker player and an all-in poker player.
Yeah.
Now, in regards to the crypto world, there is a lot of all-in coins, which basically is what we call the pump and dump coins, and they're the more the gamblers' coins. So yes, you can make thousands of percent out of them, but you never know really which one's going to do what. So it is a risk on that angle. But then on the flip side of that coin, the conservative approach is subscribing to certain newsletters, and one that springs to mind is the Dollar Vigilante. Mm-hmm. Now, the information that these guys give you on, you're paying a subscription, but it's worth its weight in gold for the information and tips and ideas that they give you.
Sure.
Now, a conservative player would take that on board in his assessment, and then you can start looking at the team. You can start picking out certain coins in the sort of the top 50 maybe, and you'll find that the core developers and the advisors are absolutely solid to the project. I'm not saying that there's quite a few pumped up coins that really shouldn't be there. I can't name them off the top of my head, well I can, but I've got them in there.
Yeah.
But then stability wise, just look at the core team behind it, and that outraised the risk for me.
So it comes back to that issue of no one's holding your hand in cryptosphere. You've got to take responsibility for yourself. You've got to go in with your eyes open and be careful and educate yourself.
Yeah.
That's the cost, isn't it?
Well, absolutely, and it's like anything, you know, we can all be tunnel vision to a potential idea that we want to progress on, and cryptocurrency for me is one of those sports, if you like. You know, it needs your absolute attention, total focus on your ideas of wanting to learn. And it's like anything, when you want to learn something, it only takes a couple of weeks or so with the good knowledge that you sort of engross in.
Yeah,
so,
and this is with YouTube and the internet as a resource these days. It's very
fantastic.
Easy to find things out, isn't it?
Absolutely, and specifically with YouTube, there's some guys on there, Roger Veer, Tizen, Leon Fu. These guys are masters at advising you. Well, we're not advising you, giving you free pointers in the right direction to look for solid tips.
Yeah.
And they want to do it out of the kindness of their heart, which a lot of people can find a bit daunting because at this stage they can't believe that someone would actually do that.
Well, there is also the issue, not taking anything away from that, but there is also the issue that for all of us, the more people, anyone that's involved in the crypto sphere who holds digital assets, it's in their interest that more people buy in and bring more value into that system.
Yeah.
So, but it's a win-win scenario, isn't it? It's because it's good for people coming in, it's good for people already using.
Yeah, absolutely. And the good thing about
functionality has made its case, hasn't it?
Yeah.
The functionality of this peer-to-peer exchange without requiring the
permission
middleman.
from anywhere. No, it's absolutely fantastic. So it's a genie now that's been let out of the box, and no matter how much negative publicity it gets in the mainstream, it's just driving people forward to learn more about wanting to know about Bitcoin, because the name Bitcoin at the moment just indicates one coin. But please people, have a look into the fundamentals behind it, because there's hundreds of good quality coins behind it that you can pick out the right ones, you know. And yeah.
So essentially, the crypto phenomenon at the moment is a great big opportunity in front of everyone's faces, isn't it? If for those that are prepared to look at it, is that a fair assessment?
Absolutely. Nigel, do you remember when the email first came out in the late 90s? Oh, sorry, mid 90s, 93, 94. You know, we'd all started to hear the name email, but yet none of us really wanted to commit to it. But yet we started to commit, not knowing what it was. Mm-hmm. But then look at the growth of the email now. Could you do without one?
Exactly, text messaging.
Absolutely, and what we're talking about now with Bitcoin and this blockchain technology, you're talking about the email tenfold, because it's money.
Yeah,
it's people can actually start to, or they should want to start to understand what it's all about in order to bring the finances into their household without having a middleman taking or giving, either way. So it's a genie out of the box, as I said just now, and what a box to be looking at this moment in time.
Yeah. So the idea can't be made to go away. The idea of a distributed consensus ledger, where there's inherently there a public record of events, transactions, all sorts of contracts. I mean, there's another thing. It threatens the whole legal fraternity, doesn't it? The legal profession in terms of contracts.
Absolutely.
And copyright and all these sorts of things, even house sales and all sorts of things and contracts can be tied in with cryptocurrency transactions. So the implications are enormous. But perhaps the most potentially a disastrous one for the state is the fact that the concept of taxation will become harder and harder to enforce, won't it?
Yeah.
With the advent of all of these financial transactions occurring in the cryptosphere, and the possibility of even using coins that are completely untraceable, such as Zcash and Monero.
Yeah, and Dash and the like. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's inevitably the whole system, the concept of taxation is threatened, isn't it? If people can now move wealth and assets and exchange value, how should we say it? Sort of independent and free from any other party, a government or bank or.
Absolutely, it's what we crave, isn't it? You go out and do an honest day's labour, no matter whether it's manual or mental. You should have the rewards at the end of it. And for so long we've just been putting up with this system of take off us, and now this blockchain technology offers us absolute. The beauty of that peer-to-peer transaction for services rendered, if you want to say, it's mind blowing.
It is, isn't it?
And people need to really start educating themselves on this technology, because we're going to get to a stage where it is going to become mainstream, and then at that point, I believe, you're going to have a few coins that are really left standing. Maybe, for example, like the birth of of eBay or Amazon, Facebook, to name a few.
Yeah.
You're going to have certain coins that are going to be the absolute pinnacle of blockchain technology.
Yeah.
And to be involved in the birth and creation of that, in the way that I live my life, and the way that I see the technology going, I think it's absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it's difficult for the average person, I think, to be able to see ahead and share the vision of how their life might be changed by cryptocurrencies and how things might be made easier. I think that can be quite a challenge for most people, can't it? If you're not convinced by Bitcoin, if you've heard that the whole thing is a scam and blah blah blah, you've been frightened by it.
Well, one of the arguments I come across quite often is that it's money used for the dark web and for illegal things going on, and the answer is so straightforward. What is fiat currency? You know, and people make this connection, think it's digital, it must be crooked. Yet fiat currency, we think, oh, that's the honest method. What a crock of rubbish, you know. And I say, looking at what you spoke about, or listening to what you spoke about just now about the blockchain technology, it's a no-brainer, because bringing back freedom to yourself, I can't really express that enough, because it's a major part of my thinking in my life.
And the fiat currencies, I mean, to even suggest that cryptocurrencies are used for nefarious purposes, you know, drug dealing and other illegal activities, or money laundering even, you know, to imagine for a moment that dollars and pounds aren't used for that is ridiculous. So it's hardly, you're not really making any point at all in saying that any.
Yeah, no, there's no value to it, is there?
No.
You know, but yeah, they can't see it because it's the main system that they've been using, that they think is honest and fair, which is.
But there hasn't been a free market in money for quite some time. You know, we have these fiat currencies issued by decree, and everyone is more or less forced to use them. But this proposes a whole new free market in money, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure. And the freedom to be able to choose what you want to do. What a great thing to have and take power over. You know, you can look at various coins for many different reasons, because you believe in that one, or you can look at it for another one and think, well, hold on a minute, something's happening with this coin. There could be a lot of money to be made. So you've got the freedom to choose. And the fact that you can do that just brings power to your life.
Yeah.
You know, because other than that, you've just not got it. It's just not with you.
So how does the average punter out there that may have heard of Bitcoin, you know, in the news or whatever, maybe vaguely interested in it, but they're not quite sure, what's the best way for them to, get into the whole subject?
Well, for the actual beginner, like you say, that's just heard the name, there's a video from a guy called Jerry Banfield on YouTube. It's if you put in Jerry Banfield Polonian X Trading, it's like a 40-minute sort of talk and with video, and he shows you how to get into it, and it's for like 10-year-olds, but you absolutely get the concept of what he's talking about. It's a couple of years old now, but we have moved on in certain areas to make it a lot easier, but to get the basics of it, I'd certainly look at something like that. So don't be put off by people saying, "Oh yeah, but the Bitcoin price has gone down now," because that's the old robbers story, where basically everything goes down, but yet the robbers buying everything cheap on the penny on the pound. So don't be put off by it, and do look into YouTube. But I've given you a golden nugget there with that Jerry Banfield video. That's certainly where I started on my journey, and I've enjoyed every bit of it up to now, Nigel. It's been sort of an 18-month roller coaster. Yeah. But quite enjoyable.
Yeah, because I mean, there does seem to be a pattern with the general rise of Bitcoin. It seems to have, it trundles along, and then it spikes, and then it comes back down again, and then it seems to lie low for another long period of time before another spike, and this pattern is repeated. And we're definitely, in that lull, as you said, at the moment, and I think a lot of people have been disheartened by that. Every time the price comes down, the general perception is put out there that it's worthless anyway,
Yeah, no, for sure.
And obviously that's a propagandist slant on the news, but the value is down at the moment, but it's
well, it's a good time to buy. Absolutely, it's a good buying opportunity. But just touching upon the waves of the graphs that you were just talking about there, over the last 5 or 6 years, it's been sort of the same pattern with Bitcoin, where a couple of times a year we'll have this massive rise and a massive dump. Not saying that the last one of $20,000 was not the biggest, because it certainly was, but the pattern and trend of it seems to be on that graph. But the main 5 or 6 year graph is just a trend upwards. So there's a lot to be said about just holding on to your coins and riding the waves, which is like what I do. You know, looking into the trading side of it more. You've got to be a bit more savvy than I am, but I'm not saying that you can't learn it. The information is definitely there, guys, if you want to put yourself out that further and get into that form of business of doing sort of day-to-day or week-to-week trading.
Yeah, so I suppose that overall, you could say, I mean, this is the way I viewed it personally. I wouldn't venture to give anyone advice, but I certainly see it as worth dipping a toe into the whole crypto sphere, Bitcoin or other altcoins, whatever particular asset you choose. But it's worth dipping in for a number of reasons. For the educational value, and getting ahead of where things are inevitably look like they're going with technology, to also, you know, potentially profits, you know, from however much you want to get into the trading. But you know, as you know, we've just heard, just parking things, you know, it isn't a bad strategy. But I mean, for many people, if they even haven't got many assets, you know, I think it's definitely worth sticking something 50, 100 quid in, or whatever you can afford, because that really is likely to be worth a lot more. It's a fundamentally deflationary system, as we've said, which means that the value of those assets, unless you've really picked a duff one, the value of those assets, those relatively reliable assets like you know, Litecoin, you know, Dash and all these others, smaller coins, is inevitably likely to go up, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
Far more than if you kept it in your bank or under a, you know, in a pillow under a creaky floorboard.
Absolutely, it just goes back to what we was talking about earlier, Nige. You know, the fact that Bitcoin is money. The email was mail, literally was, and this is a lot bigger than the email. So it goes back to that point. As we are today, we sit here in June of 2018. The forecast for the next sort of 3 or 4 years is horrendously high for Bitcoin, but it seems the only logical path because it's only got 22 million coins, to the best of my knowledge, at this moment, that's ever going to produce. It gives it value. It can't be inflated at all.
Yeah.
So if we're looking at the maths behind it, some predictions are saying it could be up to $1 million a coin at some point. So if you did put £10 in today and you just left it alone, just left it on its own, just on that assumption, it's a risk, because we never know where we're going. But the blockchain is here to stay. Behind the people have got to understand the Bitcoin satoshis. The first number is the value of the Bitcoin, and you go to 0.00 down to 8 decimals. So that £10 that you put in today could be sort of the third decimal from the end, but in 2 or 3 years, that £10 could be a couple of £1,000.
Yeah.
And it's very likely.
That's 100 million satoshis per Bitcoin, isn't it? Really?
100 million satoshis, yeah. And I think at some point they need to start naming them satoshis instead of it being 0.0 of a satoshi.
Yeah.
They need to put name to it in order to sort of like for example, the name Bitcoin is just one whole thing. So if you can look at names below that, then people will be able to associate, because a lot of people see a price of Bitcoin, $7,000, and assume they can't get into it, when if they've done the education and looked into it, that 10-20 quid is quite easy to put into Bitcoin.
And it's never too late to get on board, isn't it? I mean, it just isn't. It's never too late to start getting an education in anything.
Absolutely. And when it comes to getting on board at the moment, there are going to be people that say, "Oh, I've left that one too late because the price spike in Bitcoin, or the actual fall." You must look at the alternate coins, because that's where the action is. And the action there could be anywhere from 2 or 3 pence a coin up to £1,000, depending on what level of the coin market cap it's at in regards to its value. So there's lots of entry points into turning your Bitcoin £10, £20 or £1,000 into alternate coins, and really riding the wave there, because the rewards there do seem to be a lot higher.
Yeah.
Or potentially.
So to achieve that, we as you mentioned earlier, but just to recap, lots of due diligence, obviously. Listen to, find out who's best to listen to, get a broad picture.
Sure.
Find out who's behind this idea that coin represents, or the token represents. what's the plan? What's the
Yeah,
goal,
sure.
the vision?
Yeah, you can definitely dive in for many reasons to have a look at have a look into all the companies. I would just touching upon the due diligence. I would look at some guys on YouTube. I'd certainly look at the Dollar Vigilante YouTube channel.
Yeah.
I've said it before on there. Taizen and Leon Fu. There's three
Yeah.
guys there that will give you a real good understanding of, once you've educated yourself on what you're sort of where you're going.
Yeah.
It's another stepping stone on the ladder to moving forward. So there's
Yeah.
a couple of little nuggets in there. And even today, Nigel, I'm still very active on the Dollar Vigilante site, taking all the information, because there's lots to be had, even
Yeah.
if you think you're a master at it. No, something will always throw up. And
Yeah.
but it's not a constant education. That's a good thing. You've only got to put yourself out to get a good understanding about it, and then just monitor what you're doing, and then just leave it alone. So realistically, within a couple of weeks, 3 weeks of real solid focus, you can get a good grasp of what Bitcoin's all about and the alternate coins.
Yeah. So I suppose if anyone is going to start playing with cryptos or Bitcoin, where do you store them? Where do you keep them? And a lot of the wisdom today says keep them offline in a secure hardware ledger. Ledger's one example,
Yeah,
but
or
a
a
secure
Trezor,
offline
yeah.
wallet. There's a few of those on the market. I've just mentioned the Ledger because I happen to have one of those.
Yeah, sure.
There's a few competitors on there, the Trezor, and
Yeah,
there are paper wallets. There are all sorts of ways of doing it. But
absolutely.
what do you think is the best approach?
Well, looking at it, at the moment you can sort of buy a Nano Ledger S for around sort of £90, which is absolutely a giveaway price anyway, considering what you potentially could make on cryptos. So if you're starting out sort of quite small, maybe sort of £50-100 or so, then you can go online and find a few cold wallets online. A cold wallet is basically it only interacts with the internet once you activate it. Other than that, it can be sitting there as on your desktop, and it's not connected to it.
Right.
That's a less secure way, but again, the only reason I recommend that one is just to keep your cost down until you can actually make some money out of the Bitcoin or the alternate coin process.
Yeah.
And then I would start investing into ledgers or Trezors, like you just touched upon there, Nigel. But then incidentally, on the flip side of that coin, if I was putting in £1,000 to start out, then immediately, just on the value of that, I would take a £90 or so and buy my Trezor or my Nano and get the ball started, because I've just got the money there just to play with a little bit more.
Yeah.
So there's an argument for both, but that's how I would look at doing it.
And what sort of equipment do you need? I mean, laptop, mobile phone. What do you need?
Well, yeah, you can actually do it all on one. You can just do it all on one device, a mobile phone or a smart tablet, one of these things, and do everything on there. But I take extra precautions. You need a mobile phone for things like Google Authenticator and certain apps like Blockfolio in order to keep an eye on your portfolio.
And for two-factor authentication.
Two-factor authentication, as you said, for the Google. So that's very handy to have. And then really ideally another sort of I bought myself a laptop that's totally independent to anything else I use. It's purely just for crypto. And I've also got a crypto phone, so it's nothing really that interferes with my day-to-day sort of like being on the internet whatsoever. It just comes alive when I'm talking crypto. I've known about the crypto world for probably the last sort of 5 or 6 years, but my business life sort of took me elsewhere, and although I knew of it, I was more tied up in what I was doing. And then I brought all that to a final conclusion, and over the last sort of 18 months or so, I just needed to get myself back out there and just start thinking again in regards to sort of like more self-reliance in my financial world, and it was a no-brainer to look at Bitcoin as a means of earning. And so I bought some Bitcoin back in March last year. I bought about 20 odd Bitcoins, and I've rode the wave up. I've had my fair shares of very good success over maybe a 48, 72 hour period, and I can assure you I've had some failures along the way where I sold one coin. I'm in an R in between EOS and Ethereum Classic of all coins, and I decided to sell the EOS, and while I was on holiday the price of EOS actually went through the roof. But hey ho, that's one of those scenarios. So you can live quite well, and I would like to think that I'm doing very well at the moment in my crypto experience, but I can assure you I've had some downs on the way. And one of the downs, again, it's worth mentioning, is what we spoke about earlier on, where you can go in there and buy a Bitcoin for say 10,000 and see it drop to 5,000. I've been through all them emotions. It was only really when I understood about the alternate coins and what value there. So I'm repeating myself from it earlier, but it just, again, that was a disappointment that I could have lulled in, but it just fell into my lap to think, hold on a minute, the alternate coins are dropping. Get out of that and get into this. And that made my portfolio grow.
Yeah.
So I took a doom and gloom situation, but it was only doom and gloom because I didn't know about it.
Yeah.
But as soon as I realised what it was another form of education. It was right in front of me that I'd never taken on board.
Yeah.
I switched it all around, and very quickly, even in declining price of Bitcoin. And then as soon as Bitcoin rode the way back up again, the whole portfolio was a no-brainer.
Yeah.
It was on its way.
I have learnt through bitter experience to some extent. I've had a couple of Bitcoins for a few years, but I wasn't very active last year during the phenomenal growth of Bitcoin. But I bought when it was quite expensive, and I'm now in that lull, and it's been refreshing to be reminded that you can always move things sideways,
Absolutely.
move things out of one asset into another, but it's also inevitably going to rise again.
Yeah, for sure. It seems like there's a lot of hedge funds and insurance companies now that are paying very close attention to the blockchain technology. And as soon as these guys start coming in, us early pioneers of getting involved with Bitcoin, we're going to be very well rewarded, or at least in projecting down the road, we should be.
Indeed.
And there's no reason why we shouldn't.
I suppose there's another factor in this sort of imminent economic crisis that some commentators have been talking about for a long time, but yet, mathematically looks inevitable, and there are a large number of factors that point to economic instability in the near future, medium term. But that can only help the cryptocurrency, the cryptosphere, all the cryptocurrencies collectively. It can only help that and boost that as more people recognise the danger and instability of having assets, in the conventional financial world, in fiat currencies.
Yeah, I would totally agree with that, Nigel. The idea of or the plan that you just laid out there. Cryptocurrencies, it seems to me now they've taken over the mantle of gold. It's more valuable. It's more valuable at this moment in time to educate yourself on both subjects, precious metals and cryptos. But if I was holding precious metals, I would definitely diversify more into the cryptocurrency, because it seems to me that it outweighs it in value over the coming sort of year or two.
Yeah.
But you do need that entry and exit point in your mind. Don't just sit there and watch a wave and think this is great, because you're going to get to a certain point and all of a sudden, boom, down we go.
Okay, so you're talking sort of strategies for managing your trading experience, because that's a good point, isn't it? I mean, I've been guilty of not having a plan.
Yeah, for sure.
So you're talking about moving into a particular currency and then saying, well, okay, if I double my money or I treble my money, I'll come out and take some profit.
Absolutely, I think it's essential to do that, because it's each coin at the moment. We're in a roller coaster of a ride. They call it the Wild West of Bitcoin at the moment. When you see what you just said there, a project that you're in rising 200, 300%, it's time to cash out. It really is, and then sort of just recoup everything, realise what's gone on, and then go back in and have another look, and just keep your eyes open, because these opportunities constantly arise.
Yeah, it's exciting.
It's absolutely exciting, but I've got to say though, from my perspective now, that's how I used to sort of 15 months ago, that's how I would operate.
Yeah.
But then I started seeing fiat currency numbers next to my Bitcoin values, and it does overtake it. But when you start seeing the growth of the fiat currency, because of what you can now go and do in the outside world tangibly. So that for me put me on I sort of took a step back from the sort of day-to-day, week-to-week trading, where I'm just involved. It's just another strategies, and please don't take me at face value on it. It's just something that I've settled into.
So I'm taking a more longer-term approach.
More longer-term approach, Nigel. Yeah, that's the easy way to say it. Yeah, but that's exactly what I've done, and I've invested in a few coins now that seem to me they've got a good team behind them, good advisors, and I'm happy to just watch the wave over the next sort of 12 months to 2 years, and see where they go, because at the moment it's just all going up. So I'm going to have my downs in my portfolio, of course I am, but then I'm in it for the long run. So if I'm not prepared to sell at X amount of money, why would I sell at Y?
Yeah.
So again, it just doesn't fit in my little strategy at the moment of where I'm going. Time wise, I'm looking to say 18 months. I'm looking to then probably pull the drawbridge in. Yeah.
For those people that out there that would consider themselves to value freedom, and perhaps to be aware that our freedoms are limited,
yes,
and to be striving for more freedom, Bitcoin and the cryptocurrencies kind of represent something that's very aligned with their interests.
Absolutely, well, it's the pinnacle of it, isn't it? Because it's money. But I totally agree with that, Nigel. Now, what I'm trying to say is that the sole traders need to be supported. The grass level is everything as well. We spoke about the hedge funds and insurance companies coming into it. Mm-hmm. We need to let them know that. It needs to be told. That
so what do you mean by that? Are you saying sole traders, literally sort of people out there in the community providing goods and services?
Yeah, absolutely.
Starting to exchange and take cryptocurrencies?
Absolutely. And then again,
the local plumber.
Sure, absolutely. Produce, all sorts of things, and we're people who've got websites, a lot, somehow to pay, having a wallet on there to pay in Bitcoin.
Yeah.
I think is essential in order to support that free market at that level. So I think a lot of people that are working with sole traders, I think they've got to take a lot of responsibility and add that in. I think sole traders is a valid starting point for the grassroots level.
Is that as simple as people sort of saying we accept Bitcoin?
I think so,
on their websites.
I think so. I don't think it's going to be as difficult as what many might think it would be, but it's another form of payment that realistically is accepted.
Yeah.
No one's actually come out. I certainly don't need to be told to trade Bitcoin. And I certainly won't be told not to trade it. But nobody's actually come out and said no, Bitcoin's not allowed. It's all the machine is getting behind blockchain technology.
Yeah.
So for the sole trader to get in there, it's going to be. I can't think of what it would be, but it would be just a wallet address, I'm sure, with an app. And it's how you pay for your goods and vice versa. And it helps support the whole cause of the free market.
It would, wouldn't it?
Yeah. When it comes to the finances of your household, responsibility is a must.
Totally.
just to pass it out and just let someone else deal with it.
That's not an acceptable modus operandi for today at all, is it?
No,
really,
it's certainly
for anyone
not, Nigel.
Trying to thrive and live successfully.
No, for sure.
I mean, things like these phishing site scams, where you can be tempted into going to a website that isn't the one you think it is, and then you're led to give away some details or something. These and other scams are really important for us to go in heads up and eyes open.
Yeah, for sure.
In the whole endeavour in the crypto world, but that is a good maxim for life in general.
Absolutely, and just touching upon a bit further about the phishing sites, there, it's very important, guys, that when you do open up these web pages, to bookmark the original ones, because these scammers are just. It could be a full stop, it could be a comma in amongst something, and you're on their websites, guys, and in the lack of the gods, which unfortunately are not going to be favourable to you. So. Just to summarise there, bookmark your sites that you go to and just open them up from your browsers like that.
Yeah, and don't follow links from emails, goodness me.
Yeah, don't do any of that. There's going to be a lot of guys out there promising you this, promising that. Guys, you can do it all yourself, you really, really can. And at this early stage, it's a great opportunity, because even the people that are saying that they can do this for you, they can do that. I'm not saying that they can, I'm not saying they can't, but you can do it. You can actually take control, and you can put yourself in a position of, this is just my decision. Me, my wife, me, my son, me, my daughter, anything. It's just your decision. And what a beautiful thing to be in. You look at these ISAs that people get all infatuated about every year. There's nothing in them, nothing. But yet people, once the end of the year or a 2-year period's up, they're told, look, it's made nothing. Yet they're stupid enough or ill-informed enough, let's say that, and they go back in again and do it for another 2 years. And I've got people that I know that have done that. It's just, and you try and tell them something, and
desperate for a tax break.
Desperate for a tax break, Nigel.
Where there's a 100% tax break, really, potentially.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
in cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, obviously everyone would volunteer to declare any gains they made.
Just to summarise the whole of my being, it's just living free and living open and living as honest as I can, you know. And we're talking specifically about blockchain technology, Bitcoin, and it fits in with my is it modus operandi? Is that what it is?
Could say
it fits in
with your philosophy. It does. It supports it. It's a tool of freedom, free market exchange of value.
Yeah, for sure. And you can be anywhere. You can be anywhere. Like people, again, if we can just touch upon to something here in regards to cashing out of Bitcoin. You know, there's a lot to be said about this, because people think that once you put your money into this, or not everyone, but maybe newbies would think, well, how do you get your money out? It's important that they know.
Yes.
There's a website called localbitcoins.com, and they're all over the world, and they're geographical to your area. So within sort of maybe 5 or 10 miles of your area, you'll find a trader. But then you don't have to use that trader. You can use one in Scotland if you like. It's all online stuff. So again, you put your Bitcoin that you've taken off the exchange onto the local Bitcoin. It goes into an escrow account. You sell it to a trader, so you can pick the value about how much you want to sell. The trader puts the price up. Yeah, I'll accept him. I just go for the 100% traders that act immediately, and they've got a good reputation, and your transaction's done in seconds. And this is fantastic, and you can cash some money out of Bitcoin. So that's one way to do it, guys. It's not just putting your money in and thinking it's all in cyberspace and you can't get it out. Localbitcoins.com.
So it's all quite achievable, isn't it? And as you said, you don't need to feel locked in.
No, absolutely. And it's a process that we're going to look at it. Our first impression was, oh God, I can't deal with that. But it's very incremental. They're incremental steps, but the steps are big. Each jump. It's not a major education, guys. It's just something just to grasp, get your head round, and indulge as much as you want in regards to how much you're going to put in or how much time you're going to put in. But do learn it.
Yeah.
And we're at that phase at the moment that once it does go mainstream, you don't want to be left behind. So it's all or nothing in regards to getting in now, guys. You know, and when I say that, I mean focus for a couple of weeks on it. Make it your hobby, make it your gym hobby, or put your EastEnders aside and concentrate on the crypto, because when you realise you're playing with your money, it's enjoyable.
Yeah.
I like to use the phrase "all aboard the Skylark." I don't know if any of you remember that. But
I do.
yeah, you do. Yeah, all aboard the Skylark. Yeah, and
yeah, it's good. It's good to seize opportunities. I mean, I look back in my life, and you know, having been sort of comfortable as a PAYE for many years.
Yeah.
Just got lulled into a false sense of security where it didn't seem important to get a financial education. It didn't seem important to learn about how to best manage my financial affairs for my life outside of this little bubble called employment. You know.
Yeah, sure. Did anyone ever talk to you about that thing? That, Nigel?
No, they
Any
didn't.
guidance or anything like that? Yeah. See, that's important now, and in this crypto sphere at this moment in time, that guidance is there, and people want you to have this information.
It is, isn't it?
So anyone that didn't get, that's in their 40s, 50s, 60s, that didn't have that opportunity and they have that free advice, guys, there's people that want to help you. They want to help you. They really, really do.
And it's another delight of the internet age, isn't it? And all of this, the fact that, you know, virtually any problem that you encounter, you can Google it and you can find an answer. You know, if you're prepared to spend, you know, it might take you half an hour, might take you 2 minutes.
That's right. It'll pop up how to do.
Somebody's had the same problem that you're now having already, and they've already put the solution up, which is brilliant.
They were kind enough to put the solution up. It's quite an education and quite an experience, all this, and it's something that I'm so thankful that I'm alive to be involved with.
Yep.
You know, because I certainly want to pass this down, and even my son. You know, he's only a young man, and I'm educating him on what I'm doing. It's fantastic, and he's interested. You know, and it's great, and you'll see that same enjoyment with your family. You know, everyone's happy about taking control.
Yeah.
And it's another good way for them. It's another good way in my mind for a man to actually take control of the household, because in some ways it's deemed that the husband's the breadwinner. Okay, well, if we was to go down that line of things at the moment, in the outside world there, in mainstream world, finance is everything. And unfortunately, from experiences I've had with friends, it's always been the downfall of their relationships. It's always to do with the money. So my point is, if it's an opportunity for a man to step up, take control of the finances with his wife or his partner by his side, and do something about that burden, which breaks people's relationships. I'm not saying it happens to everyone, but just.
Do you mean the burden of not having enough funds?
You're not having, to keep that household ticking over, and the
Yeah.
stresses of that, you know, and
Sure.
and the money today that's being offered, Bitcoin, for example. Again, I use that word, but the alternate coins are right under there. What we're talking about, it offers so much opportunity for the average family. It really does.
Yeah, well, that's encouraging to hear, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
for a lot of people, you know, living on a sort of, you know, in with one hand, out with the other, sort of hand-to-mouth kind of existence, which a lot of people, you know, in this country, in England, are. It can be difficult to see, you know, sometimes to see these other possibilities.
Yeah, for sure.
And, you know, perhaps instead of reaching for that lottery card,
Yeah,
maybe reach for something with better odds, ultimately.
yeah. Ultimately, and
And
the
have more
odds
control
there.
of.
Yeah, for sure, Nigel. Sorry to interrupt you there, but the odds there far outweigh that lottery ticket.
Yeah. Yeah, exciting times.
Yeah, I think so. And the fact that you can just get up and do your own thing, live your own life, and you're in full control to the best of your ability, is
Yeah.
something I strive for.
I love the way you're an example of somebody that's, you know, done their homework and arranged their affairs appropriately to take advantage of the situation, and now you're you know in a comfortable situation where, you know, you don't need to worry about, you know, making ends meet and all that. You've risen way comfortably above that, which is brilliant. That's what everybody wants.
Absolutely, and I'll just touch upon to expand a bit more there, I'll touch upon my experience, what we were talking about earlier. I've only been doing this for 18 months, and the rewards have been fantastic.
Yeah.
You know, and when I say 18 months, guys, I don't mean 18 months full on. I mean 18 months involved with blockchain technology. You know, and for me, I was quite fanatical in the early stages, but I just wanted to know. You know, there's an opportunity here. What is it all about? I'd heard about it, and I knew about it.
So just playing devil's advocate,
Yeah.
then, supposing I was listening to you say that and say, well, okay, that's okay for you because you've ridden this nice increase that just happened to take place
Yeah,
over
sure.
those last 18 months.
Yes.
So to somebody coming in now,
Yeah.
how sure can the sceptical listener be that we're in this, you know, downside depression, whatever we call it, and we're going to come up the other side into another? How sure can what convinces the?
Well, what I look at is, that's a very good question, Nigel, because what convinces me personally is that I look at the CoinMarketCap website all the time, and it tells me and gives me the confidence that even when Bitcoin was at $20,000 and it started to collapse, there was a load of companies in amongst that just weren't panicking. They're not bothered because they're building on what their vision is going to outweigh the potential of the loss of and the value of Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So whether Bitcoin's going to be the currency of the future, or whether it be something like Ethereum or even Litecoin, it's up for debate, or Bitcoin Cash. What gives me confidence in the fact that the price has come down 200%, for example, in Bitcoin, that it's going to go back again, is because there's many companies on that CoinMarketCap that are just building. They're not worried about what's going on in the markets. They sometimes don't even talk to their communities. They're too focused on the development, which is great, which indicates to me that. Let me just step back one. These companies, they tend to hold back from the start of their trading, or the ICOs, so to speak, the initial coin offering. They hold back X amount of coins. So we'll use 100 million coins as an example. That will be only created for this company, and there'll be no more. Well, the owners of the company will hold back maybe 10 million coins. Now that's a lot of money. Now when I see the price of Bitcoin come down and down and down, I don't see these companies rushing to try and pump the markets in order to get out. That gives me absolute confidence of where we're going. and I see that regularly.
Okay, so what sort of companies can you?
Yeah, well, there'd be a few. There'd be companies like Iconomy. There'd be Ox. We Trust would be another one. Arc. That's just to name a few. But they're token cards another one. They're not panicking in the deflationary price of the times of Bitcoin when we're saying, oh, it's being dumped. They're there plodding along.
Yeah.
And and what the companies actually stand for is success, and their visions to provide at the end of that blockchain their technology way outweighs the fact that which indicates to me that that it's going to work. It has to work.
Yeah,
that's my confidence in it.
Sure. I also see the fact that Bitcoin has proven its record, if you like, as being considered a store of value, at least by the community that are using it. That there are sufficient people using it. It's a sufficiently big phenomenon. You can't ignore it.
No, for sure.
And people are considering it a store of value. So it's sort of come of age in a minor way. I mean, I think it's got a long way to go, but that gives me confidence to see that the only way is up.
Absolutely.
Because so many people recognise the value that it offers. You know, the potential for the blockchain technology, obviously more broadly as well, but Bitcoin or whatever coin, it's just such a valuable concept, isn't it? It's going to be so useful, and that alone says that it's going to be more valuable.
It's the means of exchange between the crypto world and the fiat currency, and that in itself gives it so much value.
Yep. There's been a few forks, of course, with Bitcoin Gold, Bitcoin Cash. And you know that's another sort of topic for people to explore at their leisure, but the popular one at the moment being Bitcoin Core, and a debate around actually whether that is the best functional coin. You know, maybe Bitcoin Cash will supersede it by simply being a better product over the long run, but that's something that the market will just sort out over time.
I think so. That won't be the case, but a lot of people like the idea with the Bitcoin Cash is the fact it was the original Satoshi Nakamoto's vision and ideas.
Yeah.
And Roger Vere's, he's out there firing away for Bitcoin Cash, and for that reason alone, I just want to give you an example of the Bitcoin Core, Bitcoin Cash price range. You know, just back in December time, people were doing transactions £100, £200, and they were getting charged £50, £60, £70 for the transactional fees.
Yeah.
You know, and one thing about Bitcoin Cash, it's offering value for money in regards for those fees. They're like 15 cents, I think, for any amount of money.
Right.
It's crazy. So absolutely. So on that alone, Bitcoin Core is under threat.
Yeah.
So the miners have to do something about it. You know, with these fees.
I mean, there's all sorts of issues there to learn about in this whole big topic, isn't there? Cryptocurrencies, the concept of mining, and which is verifying transactions effectively, isn't it? And being rewarded with new tokens, and what happens when all the tokens have been mined, and you know the transfer into simple transaction fees. How will all that work with some of the coins? But that shouldn't put anybody off.
No, for sure. No,
getting involved.
Thank you very much indeed, Dave, for taking the time to join us today and sharing all your insights and inspiring us to this great opportunity. And thank you for listening. Remember, you can always visit the website lawfulrebel.com for more information to support your well-being. And also, I hope you'll join me again for another episode of Living Outside the Matrix.
Change you want to see. Be the change you want to see.